you're playing Don Bosco now and not some public that people don't know or some other team, and now the bar's high and you can't, you know what I mean? Like I won't accept that from my kids. I won't.
Welcome everybody to the Garden Statement Week 8 edition. I can't believe it. The high school football season is dwindling down thinner and thinner with each passing day. Sad, but that means playoffs are around the corner, baby. Today's show, we have another batch of great interviews lined up for you. Northern Highlands quarterback Jack O'Callahan stops by ahead of the Highlanders. Huge, and huge is an understatement, matchup with Ramapo. This one, always a movie. Can't wait to see the results of that one. We also have Tommy Boura from Westmore Central stopping by. He's trying to lead the undefeated Wolfpack to a victory over undefeated Mount Olive for the Liberty White Division title in the Super Football Conference. And then we're going to wrap up with Coach Greg Russo of Paramus Catholic, who's coming off a big win against Redbank Catholic. Now, they do have their work cut out for them. They're taking on number 1 Don Bosco this week, so we'll say a prayer for them. But see if the Paladins can scrape one out. Now, before we start previewing some of those games and our other games of the week, we want to jump back to last week's public game of the week, East Orange and West Orange, that ended in a thriller. Before we start the highlights, I just want to say this game always lives up to the hype. The atmosphere is always rocking. And I wish both teams could win. But you know how this thing goes, baby. It's like the Highlander. There can only be one. This one going down in the belly of West Orange. The 5-2 Mountaineers hosting their undefeated rival 6-0 East Orange. Opening drive for West Orange. It's a red zone turnover. Shaleer Jackson jumping on that thing for some fresh cookies. Ensuing drive, close call for the Jags as they botched the snap on 4th down, and you don't want to do that. Few plays later, Farra Green Jr., he was on the show last week. He gets in from 7 yards out. Mountaineers draw first blood. Big tings as they go ahead 7-0 with 4:40 left in the first. Next touch for the Jags, Jaleel Halsey going right up the middle says, "Get from in front of me." Halsey gashes him, and that's a big pickup. Few plays later, he scores from the 1 after a missed extra point. It's 7-6 West Orange to end the first. Late in the second quarter, we're still at that score. Crowd begging for something. Alex Hanks says bet. Zachary Concepcion to Hanks. Oh, goodness. The Temple commit walks in with less than 2 minutes to go. The Sharks take a 13-7 lead heading into halftime. So you thought. After a big catch from Akir Morgan, West Orange back in the red zone with 31 seconds left. Farra Green Jr. How about another? The West Point commit popping the top. Gets in for his second TD of the game, and that will put the Mountaineers up at the break. And this was a defensive battle the rest of the way, so with less than 2 minutes left in the fourth, we're still at that same score as West Orange trying to make it a 2-possession game. They didn't count on a goal line fumble, though. No! Fresh cookies. Jags with a chance to win the game. They're down by 1 with 1:14 left. As 24 seconds remain, East Orange facing a crucial 4th down. The pass attempt going to be broken up by Akir Morgan, and that will lead to a kneel down and bragging rights for West Orange. 14-13 your final. West Orange avenges their loss in last year's state sectional final championship to improve to 6-2 and hands EO their first loss of the year. Another classic game between these two, and just absolute class from both teams in this rivalry game. Shout out to you coaches for teaching these young men how to play a hard, clean game. Farra Green Jr., your MVP with 2 touchdowns. He finished with 96 yards. And shout out to both defenses. 106 total yards of offense from quarterback Daniel New Day Lewis was the highest amount from any player. And we caught up with Farra Green Jr. and head coach Darnell Grant after.
This means everything. I mean, I was just talking with you on Monday. I mean, I told you, like, we were, like, ready for this game. Like, we prepared for this. We've been talking about it all week. Me and the guys, we came out there and we got the job done. I mean, it's nothing else we can say. Like, this means everything to us. Like, we worked for this. It was big, man. I mean, my lineman is great, man. Like, they went out there, they blocked for me, they got the job done. I just did what I had to do, score. The Mountaineers going to use it as a huge confidence booster, man. I mean, like, we got to get right back at it. We got 24 hours to celebrate, and then we got right back to business.
Hey, man, it's part of the process. You know, we know that that's our rivalry. We know that this is a big week for both towns, and it's an important game. You know, and it comes down to the same thing. It's a dogfight every year. It's tooth and nail, and having my team was able to, come out on some. We were battle testing. We played tough people. I mean, we played 3 top 20 teams in our first 6 weeks, so we were ready for the moment. Like, we're a young team. People don't realize we're really a young team. We graduated 33 seniors last year. So this group of guys are brand spanking new, and they're getting better and they're learning talented. But they're hey, we're going to build on it, right? Just another step, another mile on the road to where we're going to go. And we got to just use it and learn from it, and learn from our mistakes, and try to get better.
And we're hoping to get some more exciting finishes here in week 8. All right, guys, as mentioned in the intro, we have 3 exciting interviews for you. So without further ado, let's jump to it. All right, our next guest will be under center for the Highlanders this Friday against Ramapo. Let's give it up for quarterback Jack O'Callahan. Welcome.
Thank you for having me on the show.
For sure. You are the second Northern Highlands player to make it on our show. I believe that's the first school to do so. So congratulations to you. We had Carter Blattner on not too long ago. So you guys are coming off a big win against Ridgewood. Tell me, what went into that for Northern Highlands?
Coming off a bye week after a tough loss, it's always big to get back. And we had a tough game against Ridgewood. We came out with the win, but there's always corrections that we can make, and we're just looking forward on to Ramapo now.
Yeah, and you brought up, you kind of got into my next question. You guys suffer a tough loss to Old Japan, who I think is arguably the number 1 public school in the state, or at least the one to knock off. What did you guys kind of learn from that loss?
Honestly, we learned that we can compete with anybody. We definitely put up a good game, and it came down to the last second. We kind of try to put that in the back of our minds and move on week by week, and that's what we did with a good win against a good team against Ridgewood, and now we're doing the same thing. We're moving on to Ramapo.
Yeah, and you guys have really, you've taken advantage of, just all of your opportunities. Like you said, that was a tough loss to Old Japan, but it was a great outing from you guys. You opened the season with an exclamation mark down in Ocean City.
Mm-hmm.
And now you're about to go up against, your rival Ramapo is always, a state power. What has just been like the vibes and everything for Northern Highlands this year? What do you guys attribute your success to?
Honestly, I think it starts with the coaches. They show up day in, day out, and they just want to work. They want to work, they want to win, and they just want to do it all. Every day we're practicing long. Doesn't matter how long we're on the field for. We just try to get everything done. And I think that's attributed to our record and the scores we're putting up. And I think that's how we're doing.
Yeah, and Coach Cord, he does a great job of just getting the most out of you guys. What is it about playing for him that makes you guys just be so bought into the program?
Playing for him, it's great. He's got a lot of energy every day. He comes in, and he definitely got the best coaching staff he can in the state. Him and the other coaches with their game plan, it's amazing. They stay up all night, and they do all they can do to set us up for the game.
And this next one is huge. Like I said, it's not only against what people would consider maybe your rival, but it's also just 2 of the best teams going at it in the state. This could possibly be your last chance at Ramapo. This is your senior year. Just kind of talk about what this matchup means, on from your perspective.
Obviously, last game of the regular season, we were looking forward to it because It's setting us up for the league championship and our ranking, but we really just want to win this game under any circumstance. You know, we've been playing these boys ever since second grade. We know it's going to be great competition. We've had great competition with them ever since freshman year of high school. We just know it's going to be a battle till the end.
I'm sure it will be. And just, I guess, in retro, just putting everything in perspective, like I said, senior year, just having played Pop Warner with and against, this other program. Just talk about what this matchup means to you in general and how this could be the last time that you guys face off.
Obviously I take it personally. I want to win this game at all costs. It's our senior night. We want to have a huge game for all the seniors. Me and my friends, we've been playing together since second grade, so we've really built that bond. We've been playing together well. We've been playing strong. And I think that's just what we have. That's what we have to bring on Friday night to win that game.
Absolutely. And, what has Coach Cord kind of been doing this week to get you guys ready for the Raiders?
The game plan changes every week. So he's been on that. He's been helping us out. He's been showing us their defense, their offense, everything they've been doing. And he wants to keep us focused. He doesn't want our minds going to anything else besides this game. And that's all we're focused on this week.
And for you, like we were kind of talking about a little bit off camera before we started, on the other sideline, you're going to be going up against Casey Grusser, who's been also putting up some great numbers. What does it mean that you're just going to get, we're going to get two great quarterbacks kind of just dueling it out?
He's a great quarterback. Obviously, he's been having a good season. It's just our defense. We're going to have to shut them down. We've been game planning. But like I said, it's going to come down to the last second. Our offenses are going to be dueling it out. And it's just going to who can make the bigger plays at the bigger moments.
And for you, senior year, what's just kind of been working for you? And just the overall emotions of your final high school season.
Honestly, it all starts with the boys around me. Everyone's built into this. Everyone's dialed. The O-line, they're playing nuts. Our running backs, our receivers, our defense, everyone's bought in. And that's all I can say, really. We're all just bought in as a team, and we're trying to win at any stake.
Jack, I don't want to keep you too much longer. What are you looking forward to most about Friday night going up against Ramapo?
Friday night, what I'm looking forward to most, it's really the culture that our school brings. Everyone shows up to all these games. We know there's going to be a lot of people there. But what I'm looking forward to is that we're going to focus from the first snap to the last snap, and we're going to be dialed every play of the game.
And what can we expect from Northern Highlands this Friday night?
We can expect to win from Northern Highlands this Friday night. That's what we're looking forward to, and that's what we've been planning on.
Well, Jack, I appreciate you stopping by short notice. I also have to mention he's a Bates College lacrosse commit, so congratulations to you, son. God bless.
Thank you.
And yeah, good luck this Friday. All right.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me on the call.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Want to welcome in our next guest who will be lacing it up for the division this Friday against undefeated Mount Olive. I want to welcome in West Morris Central's own Tommy Boura. Welcome.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
For sure. We had to get you on the show. Not only is the Wolfpack doing what they do at this time of year, but congratulations to you. You are a Princeton football commit.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yeah.
Shout out to Coach Race and his son AJ, two of my favorite peeps in the biz. I think you're gonna do great things. Yes, I think you're gonna do great things for the Tigers. Before we jump into the this week's matchup, just tell me what went into your decision to join Princeton.
Yeah. Obviously, like you were saying, Coach Race. I mean, you get in that program, you get in that environment, you get some of the best coaches in the country, the FCS, let alone even like probably the whole country wide, FBS, FCS. You got Coach Verbit there, who's been there for 40 years now. Coach Race, who is at the helm. And honestly, I mean, going to the Ivy League, can't get a better education than that. And just where it is, downtown Princeton, staying home right in Jersey. Family can come watch the games. I mean, honestly, I feel like it's the best place on earth. When I went there, I fell in love, and can't beat downtown Princeton.
Yeah, I can tell you I've definitely had some battles with the traffic there, so I don't know if I can get down 100% on that last statement, but you are for sure gonna have a great time over there. And like I said, shout out to Coach Surace.
Yes, sir.
People sleep on the Ivy League, man, but those
They
are some of
do.
the best battles, and the tradition is just it is unmatched,
Exactly.
to say the
Exactly.
least. But this week, like I said in the intro, West Morris Central going up against Mount Olive. It's for the Liberty White division title, the Super Football Conference. Tell me, what is Coach Henley saying to you guys, and how's practice been so far for the Wolfpack getting ready for this one?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, obviously, playing Mount Olive, tough football team. I've actually known a bunch of those guys for forever. Growing up playing football in the town over right next to them. They're as good as it gets around here. But going into this week, honestly, you know, we're very traditional in what we do. We're not going to switch up much, no matter who we play, no matter who we're going at. We run our offense, we run our defense. We're gonna, do what we do, and we'll make them adjust. But it's super exciting that we get to, line up against these guys. For me, get to line up in the trenches against some of the best O and D linemen they got in the county, and I think we're really excited. I feel like I can speak for everyone on both sides of the ball that we're just excited to show what Morris County has to offer, and that Morris County, we can play some solid football.
For sure. And like we were speaking a little bit off camera, West Morris Central, that is a powerhouse program. Not that many people might not know, or they sleep on. Coach Henley does a great job. The game plan, I feel like, never changes. You always got a solid running attack. And I'm looking at your stats right now. I mean, Deacon Frayne, he's a little short of 1,000 yards right now, 826, 11 touchdowns. What's just been working for the Wolfpack this season?
Yeah, no. Honestly, I mean, we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna run the ball. It's no surprise to anyone. I think our quarterback has like 35 passing attempts this year. Not many, So we're gonna run the ball. We're gonna run the ball a lot, and we really lean on those guys up front, our offensive line, to get the job done. Our backs, obviously, they're elusive guys. They're gonna do what they do, but the guys next to me up front, our tight ends, and all that. We gotta make holes, and we pride ourselves in that. We pride ourselves in opening up lanes for that running back to just let him bounce it around and do his thing. But we got Frayne, who's been an absolute animal this year as a sophomore, running all over the field. Finley, who's one of our other wing backs, is probably, I think, like 500 yards. And then Mancelino's our other wing back, who's probably around 600. So the running attack's been great. And like you said before, like, we really don't switch much up. Teams know what's coming at them. It's been coming at them for 40 years. So, we're just going to do what we do and make it work.
And I actually see you got a couple. You got 2 attempts on the season. I don't
Got
know,
2
4
attempts.
yards.
Yeah.
Listen, they want to keep the big guys like us out of the backfield. They don't want us to get all the shine. But
I know.
yeah. You think we could expect a touchdown from you before it's all said and done this year?
I think we can expect a touchdown before it's said and done. Definitely, going into the playoffs here. We got a senior night next week, so hopefully I can, get one in there before my career ends here at Central.
That would be awesome. And you're a two-way player, offense, defense. Which one's your preferred?
I'm playing defense in college, so defense, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, look, 8-0 record right now. Coach Henley has you guys rocking. And listen, you beat the teams that are in front of you pretty hap-handedly. You haven't really been in too many close ones, but
Yeah.
Like I said, Coach Henley, one of the best in high school sports here in New Jersey. He's great situational coach. I know he's going to prep you guys, but what has he really just been stressing to you guys about Mount Olive?
Yeah, so honestly, this week especially, just watching film and all that stuff, they got 2 great defensive tackles for when we're on the offense side of the ball. They got James Giamanco and Jared Martini, who are both, putting up great numbers for them this year. 2 animals over there who can really, make plays if we're not doing our job. So, we got we got to shut down their front more than anything. We got to win up front on our offensive line and defensive line. We got to get that push to make it happen. And then their powerhouse guy, their go-to guy, Braden Longo, one of their running backs. He's running for over 1,000 yards this year. He's punt return guy, kick return guy. He's really looking good, and he's definitely a threat. So minimizing what they can do on their special teams, because that's where they really kill a lot of teams, running back kicks and punts. So minimizing that a lot this week, and then just physically trying to win the matchup. Right? Some of our guys, honestly, they might have some speed on us. They might have some overall athleticism, but if we can beat them up physically more than anything and make them take them into that fourth quarter, then we'll eventually wear them down to the point where we can start rolling on our terms.
For sure. And then hopefully they get you that 6 that we were just talking about.
Exactly.
Big picture, man. Big picture. So, West Morris is also one of those programs that I don't want to say it's championship or bust, but you guys definitely have a standard there. And it's almost weird to not see you guys in the mix there. I know last year, 8-3, some would consider that a good season. I'm not saying it's bad either. But I know you guys had a semifinal loss in the state sectional semifinals to West Essex, which that's a classic battle. It feels like you guys are always playing each other in the playoffs. But what did you guys really learn from last season, and what was really, you think, the key to so far your success in 2025, winning all your games?
Yeah. So that last class that left us, they were leaders. They really showed us what it means to play football at Central and what it means to be a man overall, playing football for such an historic program. And those guys, they definitely left an impact on us. They left a legacy, that we can carry on into this year. And honestly, coming into the summer, my group, we've always been really good growing up. We've always been in those championship games in the county and been like, we have some great athletes overall, maybe not specifically football players, guys, but we have some stud lacrosse players, some, just overall where we can get it done. But coming into this year, it was more of a mentality for anything than us. It's easy to get distracted by school and by, outside factors throughout the fall. And, but if we know that we just need to stay locked in and be there for one another and, move as a team compared to, individuals. And if we're able to do that and we're able to, bond throughout the season and understand that we're all here for a reason and we're doing all this hard work for a reason. And we honestly, just want to be in that mix because teams before us have done it and we want to be the team to be the best.
And senior year, this could be the last time you face off against Mount Olive, but what's just been your mentality and just take me through your senior year? What have you really just enjoyed and taken in?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I've been playing varsity for 4 years. I've been coming to the games since I was 5, playing flag football here with my friends. And honestly, it's just almost surreal that I feel like I've just been in here forever. And next year's, not going to be that way. I'm going to move on, go to college, play ball there. But it's just, honestly, enjoying those moments with my friends, like looking around, taking it in. I'm especially going to do that on Friday because I think we're going to have a packed house, neighboring towns. I think there's supposed to be like 10,000 people there or something like that, which is going to be crazy. So just taking a minute to, look around and realize that, this is some of the best times of my life and I'm able to play with my friends. And it's just going to be pretty awesome to be in that moment. So, and that gets me fired up. I'm able to play off that, have some energy off that, and, know that we're there and we're having a good time.
For sure. And I don't want to look too far ahead, but this is just a question or just in general. I'll put this out there. I'm not going to lie. South Jersey, I feel like, has been racking up a lot of the titles these last couple of years. Just looking ahead, when it comes to North Jersey football, do you do you think we're going to see the North kind of regain their power? Or I don't know if you keep up with some of the Southern schools, what's just kind of your take on, I guess there's a lot more parity than in years past.
No, yeah, for sure. Seeing those, Southern teams, obviously for the past few years since I've been in high school, those shore teams racking up those overall titles and those group titles. it's been annoying, not gonna lie, because I know North Jersey football is as legit as it gets. We got teams obviously like the privates up here in Bergen County, Bosco and Bergen Catholic, but North Jersey public football hasn't maybe got the light that we deserve in winning those titles. So I know that whether it's group 1 through 5, I want to bring some titles back to North Jersey, and I think we'll be able to get it done in group 3 here. And I definitely, no matter what, want to make sure that title comes back up north.
Tom, I don't want to keep you too much longer. I know it's game week. I know it's a school night. What are you looking forward to most about Friday night under the lights in Chester? Like you said, 10,000 people there. What are you just looking forward to the most?
Oh, honestly, last time playing some of these guys, last time playing Mount Olive, last time going out there. It's our senior night with my guys. So honestly, just taking in the moment, being able to get after it on our field for sure one last time, and just enjoying the experience and going out there. We lost to them last year. We lost to them the year before. So I'm 1-2 against them right now, and I know I want to get that back to even. So I'm just gonna enjoy the whole experience, getting after them, and just playing ball with my boys.
I want to leave you with this one, Tom. What can we expect from the West Morris Central Wolfpack this Friday night against undefeated Mount Olive?
You're going to expect us to go out there and see some of the most well-executed football you've seen throughout the year. We're going to play disciplined football. We're just going to stick to our guns, stick to what we do, and we're going to get the job done on Friday night.
Awesome. Well, best of luck. God bless, brother. Like I said, congratulations on your commitment to Princeton. Bright future ahead for you. So good luck this week, and we'll be watching.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right. And to wrap up our interviews, a very special guest. Always a good time whenever we get together. Let's welcome in Paramus Catholic head coach Greg Russo. Welcome, Coach.
Thanks for having me.
For sure. Our paths we're going to cross at some point this season. I can't keep you away from the show. The 3-5 record for the Paladins so far here in 2025, but you're coming off a huge win over Redbank Catholic, and like we said, 2 stud freshmen. So tell me, what went into that big win over the Caseys?
Oh, it was big. I mean, they're a good football team. I mean, when you're undefeated this late in the year, there's a reason you're playing good football. I think for us, the big thing was we played a lot of good teams, and you just take it game by game. And I think sometimes when you coach for a long time, you get so caught up in the result. Hey, you're 3-4, whatever your record is, and like you're not gonna be able to win this game because they're undefeated. Like we don't have any of that because a lot of those games you played really good teams, and we could have beat them all. Now you got to look at the reasons why you did it and try to fix it, but you got to be hungry for the win, but not be so down that you're not confident in yourself that if you play the right way, you can win. So I think that's the great thing, and how I think this team's kind of stayed centered is like the difference between winning and losing in this league is really small. So if you lose a game, you can feel sorry for yourselves and look at what didn't happen or what call you didn't get or whatever, right? Or you could just try to fix it and win the next one, So I think this group's done a really good job of doing that. And Redbank's a really good football team. And, they've beaten some teams up here in the past, and they beat us last year. And I thought we played pretty well and made some of the plays we weren't making prior to kind of win that game.
Yeah, I'm glad you touched upon that, because not only do you have, in my opinion, one of the hardest schedules, if not the hardest, but it's like you said, I think people get caught up in these records when they're at a certain point. Like, it would have been really easy for you guys to, kind of just fold to Redbank like that. But, you won that game, and now it looks like you're kind of just back in the thick of things. And, you have 2 quality opponents, and, obviously number 1 ranked team in the state, Don Bosco, this week. But yeah, I guess, but because you won 2 of your last 3,
right?
And I'll put the schedule up here just so people can have a better understanding if they don't already. But what did you kind of tell the guys after that win? And yeah, what did you tell the guys after that win? And how do you think they're going to use that going forward?
I mean, I kind of try to talk to him. It's hard to do as a coach. I try to talk to him very similar of like, win or loss, because to me it's like, all right, well, how'd you get there? Like, just because we won in Redbank doesn't mean you necessarily played better when you lost in, let's say, on a prep or wherever. But I mean, we try to keep that in consideration. I was happy for them because as a coach and as any program, you say a lot of things, and when you lose a game, no matter if it was a great, well played game or not, you lose. There's kind of a tendency for people in and around the program to think, well, are these guys really telling the truth? If I do what they say, are we going to win? Because that's how it's measured, right? And it's hard, I think, it more now than ever with all the media and all the people that are around these kids. Like, you need to win so that they realize what you're saying works, right, on some level. And like, I'm not saying the kids are consciously thinking this, but like, I think it's very powerful. So yeah, you want to say, hey, you won, but hey, why did you win? You did X, Y, Z. And sometimes when you lose, there's some great things you did. Like, Iona Prep's a great example. Like, we lost the game. We were down 24 points in the fourth quarter and actually had a chance to cut it within 3 for 7 minutes left. Like, we had a crazy run. We got back in the game. We fumbled and, we ended up not winning that game. But like, I kind of looked at them like most teams that are down 24 in the fourth with a team that's scoring like Iona Prep was, they don't get back in the game. My team did. They got back in the game, and they got back in the game 2 different times to cut the lead. So I thought, even though we lost that game, I was kind of impressed with the resolve of the way they played and the way they did it. And I feel like they've carried that through and really done a great job. And with the exception of Bergen, and then we just had a lot of balls bounce odd early to start that game. But like, I feel that we've been in every game. It's been a 1-possession game. I think some of them ended up being 2. We let a team score or something. But like, it's been a 1-possession game. We've been in battles all year. And I think that only hardens you as long as you're framing it right and you don't let one loss become 2, right? You've seen that in college a little bit now. I think my guys have done a really good job of that, responding, when you lose the right way. And now, when you win too, you also have to respond, because you can't think you're great now and everything you do is perfect because you won a football game. It's like, all right, that's great. We won. It worked. On to the next thing. And like, you got Don Bosco walking in. So what are you going to do? Be happy about your win last week and not prep for Don Bosco come Monday, So I think my guys kind of keep it all in stride.
That's why I love having you on the show, because you do just bring a real perspective to it. I think a lot of coaches, they'll just give you your generic mundane answer. But I love the line you said about losing 2 weeks in a row, because I do think that's something that teams absolutely fall victim to. And we see it all the time, to make an example, Penn State, Penn State loses one game, and for some reason it always winds up derailing them, and that's why they're going through what they're
every
going.
Coach talks about 24-hour rule, win or lose, right? And everyone's been talking about that forever. But in the reality, it's like, how'd you show up on Monday? Did you show up all pressured because you lost that game? Did you change how you are? And I don't know. I'm not inside Penn State, right? I don't know. But I mean, I just saw some of the press conferences where they're talking about, hey, this Northwestern game's like a must win. It's like, when does Penn State not beat Northwestern? But like, you put that pressure on it. And I'm just using that as an example, but it happens in high school too, because if you lose, and this was the big message that I thought we had to talk about it. So I forgot what game it was, but like, I was kind of like, listen, like, we got to look at what we did wrong. We got to fix some things, right? But like, let's not act like you're a bad football team because you have, I don't know what the losses were at that time, 3 losses, 4 losses. Like, because on all those games, could we have won them? Is everything I said right if we made one more play in those games? And like, there is a tendency in our business, like, when I say business, in football and especially in sports, like, you lost, so everything you did is wrong. So if a field goal goes in by 2 feet or goes out by 2 feet, everything we did was right, and I'm a genius, and then it goes the other way and I'm an awful coach and my kids think, like, you know what I mean? Like, but that's how it is, especially in our area, okay, especially in the parochials. And I get it, I'm as guilty as anybody else, right? But at the same time, with the kids, it's like, let's just try to get better at football, play our best football late in the year. And if we make a mistake, let's get better, but let's go do it the next time. And like, I'm not scared of anybody. I'm not saying we shouldn't play anybody, but I tell my kids, like, anyone we play all year, if you play poorly or you don't play your best, you're going to lose, and probably by a lot. At the same time, if you play really well, and I don't care if you're playing Don Bosco or Bergen, whoever, you play at a really high level, you got a really good chance to win the football game. And to me, that's what it is every week. It's not about the opponent so much, because all these teams are really good. All these teams have ways they can beat you. There's ways you could beat them. But, and sometimes your margin for error is smaller than others. But every football game in this league, if you look at whoever, I think Bergen plays Joe's this week, and everyone's talking about Bergen's. I'm like, anything can happen in that game, because it depends on how the game goes. It depends on what happens. It depends on who plays a little. They're high school kids, right? Sometimes they play well, and sometimes they don't. And like, I think that we forget all these things, and everyone's shocked when one team beats the other. Like, nothing in our league surprises me, like, ever. So I just think with these kids, you got to stay even and just try to keep them getting better, and the staff and everyone else. So my kids have done a really good job of that, and just kind of taking the next game. And every game plan changes a little bit. The styles are different. The styles make fights, right? Like this game's a fun game, like they all are, because they're really good. Like you don't want to play teams that aren't. You want to play teams that are really good and bring out the best in you and give you the biggest challenge.
Yeah, and it's not to say you guys don't have anything to lose, but like you said, the position you're in, 3-5, a win against Don Bosco. I mean, not to say you can't corral the kids after that, but what are you going to tell them? You're not
Same
both
thing.
the number one.
In all honesty, I swear to you, and you're going to think I'm lying. If we won the game, I'd be excited. I wouldn't be shocked. I'd be like happy that we did it. Let's get better. Let's figure out we did well. Let's figure out we did it, and let's get ready for Del Martin, right? Like, it's like, and I don't mean to say that, but like in this league, it's so good. You can't get too high with one win or get too low at one loss. You really can't. And that's not a knock against any of these teams. I'm just saying, like, if you allow yourself to do that, and you allow the kids to feel like that too, it's like you're going to lose the next week because these teams are too good. And everybody who lost the week before, their coaches come in, they grind them hard. The kids want to win the next game. And if you win and you don't handle that the right way, you're going to get it the next week. So, like, I mean, I've been in this league long enough. I've been on both sides of that thing, man. I've had an undefeated team years ago. We were rolling. They took a team lightly. We got beat. The coaches were telling the kids all week, but they saw the other team lost by 40 the week before. I can remember like it was yesterday. So, like, I always hold all that stuff because, like, it's happened so many times. It's like you have to just go to the next one. And, like, there was a time when Greg Toll was coaching Bosco when we first got to Paramus Catholic. It was like you couldn't even step on the field with them, let alone beat them. I mean, they were so good. They were national champs. You were struggling to get a first down. In this league now, there's so much more parity. It's nothing like that. It's like, hey, if you play, you got to play really well. They're a good football team, and you got to play well, and you can't make mistakes, and you can't do those things. And like, I think the league is like that right now. But I remember once we started beating them, there is something to be said for like, you haven't beaten a team for a while. They used to talk about, I forgot what coach it was, about the laundry. You're losing to the laundry out there, like what the jersey says. And like, you can't do that. And that's why I think you have to approach it, because I remember once we beat them we beat them like 7 times in a row. And everybody was like, oh, you won with your grilled peppers. You won with your grilled peppers once. But that once was enough for the next time for the kids to know they could beat Don Bosco, right? And then, you started winning it. And it's the same thing that happened with Bergen and all those different teams through the years. But now it's kind of different, and Bergen's on top, and Bosco, Bosco just beat them, so they kind of got that off their back, and they're rolling. But for our program, it's like you just got to do it once, and then everybody knows it's possible, right? And the game changes, and you're not necessarily like when you're up waiting for the other team to come back, or when you're down saying, here we go again, right? It's just a football game, and we got to make the next play, I think once that happens, and I think, coaching's part of it, but players are a big part of it. And they got to believe, and they got to go make enough plays that they feel like, yeah, I'm supposed to be here. Hey, I'm not going to be shocked if I look up and we're up in the game. Like, what would you be shocked for? It's a football game. You guys work really hard. And all this is easy to say, right? But it's like, you got to be in the games, and you got to go play them, and you got to feel it, and you got to learn how to win those. And that's why winning a game against an undefeated team is a big deal, because the lesson you learn is like, I mean, it wasn't Don Bosco, it's Redbank Catholic, but they were undefeated. You beat them. Now you're playing another undefeated team, right? And same thing is true that I told you last week. Play really well. Give yourself a shot to win the game. Don't. You're not going to win the game, right? So it's like, I think so much of it in high school especially is like those unforced errors. Like, it's zone. This is a simple one, but it's zone right and alignment steps left. Or you're blitzing the mic and the will goes, or whatever. Like stuff like that you can't do in these type of football games. And when you watch, Bergen play Bosco to undefeated, I'm sure when they watch those tapes, I'm sure it's something that they do in Indy, probably. If it was on air, you would know it's wrong, right? You got to eliminate those, and then you give yourself a good chance to win the game, no matter who you're playing. Because the talent in this league, it's not that far off from the top to the bottom. Now there are differences, don't get me wrong. But like I'm saying, it's not what might have been back like when Toll was national champ Bosco, right? Like those teams were like, hey, we're gonna get a first down today, right? It's not that, but they're really good, and you got to bring your A game,
Yeah, for sure. And I'm glad that you said, that there's parity, because one team that we've seen really step it up after having a couple down years is St. Peter's Prep. And I know you saw them to begin the year, but they're arguably, they're right there as arguably the third best team in the Super Football Conference non-publics.
That's the league,
Um,
man. Last year, I forgot what their record was, but I watched a lot of their games on tape. And if you didn't know anyone's record and you just watched them play whoever, I feel like they were kind of like us, and in certain games, like you watch the games, they're in every game, they're winning. Maybe some bounces didn't go their way, they lost. But like, I don't know what their record was, a 3-6 or
it's
2-7.
4-6, four and
But like,
six.
if you watch some of those games, look at everybody, like they were right in them. So this year, a lot of their games have been close again this year, right? So they beat Joe's by a point last year. I think we beat them by a score. They beat us by a score this year. So the game just, what was it, 1 or 2 plays probably, right? So I mean, and they have a lot
Lost
of
to DePaul by
seniors.
10. So
Yeah, but like all those are possible, right? Anyone that plays in this league, like, and that's what I'm saying. DePaul beating Peters doesn't shock me. Peters beating whoever doesn't shock. I think they beat Joe's. It's
yeah,
not.
beat Joe's.
If you watch the tape in this league and you watch every play, you can make a case. I could watch Peters and Joe's, or let's say I can give you 4 reasons Joe's could win the game. I can give you a bunch of reasons Peters would win the game, and that's why you play, right? You play, you see what happens. But you could tell certain styles that like would give a problem. You could see that. I'm sure Joe's in Bergen this week. Anything can happen. Joe's was beating Bergen by 2 scores in the playoffs. Bergen wins the game. People forget about the game was close, and Joe. Like it could happen. Anything could happen because the teams are all really good. And you know what? We're all really flawed too because they're high school kids, So I just think like they can make mistakes. We can make mistakes. And like that's what it comes down to in those games is like who's going to make probably more so than who's going to make the big play. In our league, I bet you if you really watch, it's who can avoid the bigger mistake. And I don't mean to be conservative. I mean like which kids play more disciplined ball for more plays. Like don't beat themselves. Because
A lot
the
of
big
flags
players
at
are
the
going
end
to
of
make
that
plays.
Bergen Bosco game. I think that's ultimately what did Bergen in at the end. Just uncharacteristic, mental mistakes there at the end.
And those games take on a life of their own. And I've been part of them where, we were playing Bergen and Bosco and we had a thing with Peters for a little while. Those games take on a life of their own each game. And, it's hard to really like quantify it and stuff like how to, that people want to do analytics on the game. Those games all have their own feel. I remember some of the wars we had with Bosco and Bergen back in the day. Like they felt like they could have been 4 games in one and like things happen and they go whatever. And then when you play again, you can throw out whatever happened the first time and whatever's going to happen is going to happen. And like, I think there's times where you're better off losing that game in the season and having your kids all angry about it all year and talking about it versus sometimes winning it. Where when I was a younger kid, like if you won the first one, almost you had a pretty good chance to win the second one. I feel like now things have flipped like completely because there's so much out there. And when the kids win, they get all these press about how they won and how they're good. And all their parents think they're good. And all the recruiting services are telling them how good they are, right? And there's all these things, right? And then you lose. And even if you lost by 5, you aren't good. Your coaches aren't good. Your kids stink. And like this kid's better than you. And they get all. So like in some ways, I think sometimes, and I'm sure most coaches wouldn't say it, getting a loss in the season is not the worst thing. Because it gets their attention. Like, hey, you didn't do it like we said this week. And like now you're going to fix it. And I'm sure, I played for Vito's father, but I'm sure Vito's going to crank them up and they're going to play again and they're going to be ready to go. And it's hard to be the same team twice in this league. It is. And when I played in the 90s, I don't think a lot of teams ever beat the team they lost to during the season. So I think it's changed because there is so much parity and there are so many good players and the coaches are really good. So if you give them some more time, can they figure something out? I just think it's a great league. It's fun. The kids are really good. The coaches are really good. And I think it's why you don't know what's going to happen week to week.
Yeah. And for you, I know it, season's not done. And I know 3 wins is not, and I know 3 wins is not your, or 4 or 5 wins is your goal. I know you want to win the whole thing, but for you, you really, and I know you have a great coaching staff around you, but you yourself, I know how much this program means to you. You've won here. And then, you were having a good run there over at Northern Highlands and you decide to come back to PC and start building this thing literally from scratch, and I know you made a little bit of progress, 3 wins, 4 wins. And like I said, you're not done. I know you want more than 5 wins, but just talk about, I guess, revitalizing this program and trying to get PC to be not what they once were, but just, to get them back there fighting with the rest of the Super Football Conference, who I believe is one of the toughest conferences or non-public division in the country.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, it's a tough thing to do. And it is crazy because like I left in 2016 and we were the top. And then I was gone. I was at Highlands. I had a great run there. I was able to build it. It was really fun. And I came back and like, when you say from scratch, it's hard to say because you're like, wait, 5 years ago, you were nationally ranked team, top team. How could they be from scratch? But they were. They hadn't won a game in 2 years. They were missing a lot of guys. And you know what? I actually miscalculated a little bit about how much work had to be done going in. And we've done it. We're doing it steady. Like you said, we won I think the first time we were in a game and scored, the fans were all excited. And I was like, we should win. What do you mean we're excited about beating the game? But it showed me how far it was, right? So as a staff, we were all upset. And there were people's parents like, hey, we did a great job. We almost won that game. And you're like, okay. Like, I forgot what the opener was, but it was close. And, from there, we won 2 games. We beat Seton Hall that year. We ended up winning the playoffs, had a big win against Joe's, I think. And we beat them that year. And that was their first league win in a long time. And then the next year, I forgot there was somebody else. But I think it's been a slower improvement than what I would have loved to win. 2 wins, 6 win, 9 win championship, right? Like that's what you want. We've gone 2, 3. This year we're at 3 now. And there's a bunch of games left. So we'll win more than we had before, right? But I'm also impressed with the way we've done it. Like last year, we had 6 or 7 starters out. We won a bunch of games like that. This year, our quarterback's been out. We've won 2 of the last 3 with a sophomore quarterback who has, I think, coming out of 8th grade was his first year playing quarterback. He was a freshman with us last year. He's out there playing the best teams and doing well. And I think it just shows the way we coach and develop in our program that there's been a lot of guys like that have played. And people don't notice because, maybe we're not on, media every week, but we have kids stepping in and playing. That's what programs do. Guy goes down, someone steps up, and you play. So the guys are doing that, and I like so much about it. And you got to win some of these games, and this Redbank one helps, right? Because they were undefeated. But you win some of these games, and everyone goes, "Oh, these guys are really good," and then they start walking around like they're pretty good. And you know what? You're hard to beat, but you need some of those wins for those kids to feel like what they're doing is the right thing and you're doing the right stuff every day, right? Because as soon as you lose, everyone's like, well, this guy doesn't know, and this kid should be playing, and this guy does it like this, and my trainer says X, Y, Z, right? So but when you win, that all goes away. So it's like that chicken or the egg thing. You got to act like that to win. Not everything you say is right, but it's hard for kids to buy in that hard until you win some games like that, right? And we've had some crushing losses in the last 3 years. I mean, down to some of the craziest things I've ever seen. Where you lose the game in heartbreaking fashion. It's happened a bunch. Games they could have won. Some games with a call. Some games with a bounce. Some games with whatever. But we were in so many of them, right? And for me, it's a couple of these just turn. Then it starts rolling, and all of a sudden people talk about what winners your kids are, and they know how to win, right? Well, you got to win to know how to win, right? It's well, how do you learn how to win till you win? So I mean, it's all part of the process, and I feel like my kids are doing a great job of it, and it's they know Don Bosco's a good team, but they're going to show up and play football. And, and that's the way it is. And you just got to go try to figure out a way to win.
Yeah, Coach, I don't want to keep you too much longer, but, I guess we'll end on this one. What have you really been stressing to the guys this week? And what can we expect from PC this weekend when they line up against number 1 Don Bosco?
Yeah, I mean, just the thing I stress, and it's not just because it's this week; it's every week. But it's a little more out there because it's this week. Because obviously, Don Bosco's a really good football team. My point to them is this whole season, I don't feel like the other team has mattered that much. And I'm not trying to take it away from any opponent. I respect them all, but I really feel like it's if you are doing everything right, you're going to be really hard to beat. Now, the key is when you get pressure and you're playing a good team, are you still going to do what you're supposed to do? Or are you going to do your own thing or do something that's easier? So to me, it's when any of these big games, make someone go beat you. Don't go out there and beat yourself. Go play at the highest level you can and make them have to do the same thing, right? And in our Bergen game, we did it. We turned the ball over early. Some of that was my fault. And we gave them the ball 3 times inside the 7-yard line in 2 minutes, whatever it was. I don't remember how far it was, but it was we pretty much handed them 21 points. You can't do that against Bergen Catholic and Don Bosco and all these teams, right? So that was the lesson. Not that you couldn't be in the game, because as soon as we got the ball and didn't turn it over, we went 80 yards and scored. It was 14-7. So even in that game where you lost, Bergen beat us up as that game went on, right? But you look at the game in the first quarter. So after you didn't just hand them the ball and let them score a touchdown, you went 80 yards and scored. So even in that loss, it's okay, so what do we do here? Oh, we didn't turn it over. We didn't jump off sides. We ran zone right and not zone left on a play. So it's you can play with anyone, but you have to play at a high level. That's the balancing act. And it's people talk on a balancing beam. If it's on the ground, everyone can walk across it, no problem, right? You wouldn't even care about it. You'd walk right across it. Put it 4 feet off the ground, and all of a sudden people are doing this thing, right? put it 10 feet off the ground, no one could even take a step. It's the width of the balance beam didn't change, right? Oh, you're playing Don Bosco now and not some public that people don't know or some other team. And now the bar's high and you can't, you know what I mean? Like I won't accept that from my kids. I won't. And they know it and they know what I'm pushing for. I want you to walk across there just like you do if it's anybody else. And then go play football and let's see where the chips fall, right? Like, because to me, that's what you have to do in big games. And I have to do it all the time. Every game's a big game. Like, we don't play that many games. You practice hundreds of practices to play how many at best? 14 games? Like, you can't take any of them any lighter or any more important than any others, right? And obviously in the playoffs a little different. You lose, you go home. But I'm saying, like, in general, this is a great test. It's fun. Like, go out and let's play football.
That's why you're one of the best in the biz, Coach, and one of my favorite guests, because we could sit here and talk 4 hours about football and philosophy and things like that. We definitely got to do something else maybe after the season.
You got it, man.
Coach, good luck this week. I'll be pulling for you. And if you come out with the win, I won't be shocked. I promise you. All right?
Thanks, man. I appreciate it.
All right, Coach. Coach Greg Russo, always a pleasure. He's always welcome on the Garden Statement. But thank you, Coach. Good luck.
No problem. You have a good one.
You too. Shout out to all those guys. Appreciate them stopping by ahead of these huge matchups. And always good to catch up with my guy, Coach Russo. We always have a good time. All right, but those 3 games, not the only ones on the schedule. So without further ado, let's jump into the games of the week. All right, let's get this thing started with our graphics provided by NJ Athletics /NJ Gridiron. We're going to kick things off with our non-public game of the week, St. Joe's Montvale going up to Oradell to take on Bergen Catholic. Yes, we have to start with this one. Could be game of the year so far. It's number 5, St. Joe's, traveling. They're 5-2. They're going to go take on 6-1 Bergen Catholic, who's ranked number 2 in the state. And to be honest with you, this is a legacy game. A win for BC solidifies them as the clear-cut number 2, maybe number 1 in the state. And a win for SJR blows the whole bracket wide open and proves they are right up there with the top dogs. And the coaching matchup doesn't get much better. Augie Hoffman for Joe's and Vito Campanelli for BC. Coach Camp chasing a 5-peat, which is unheard of. That's 2 of the best in the business, and you can just expect a chess match from both of these guys who are just staples in the New Jersey high school football community. Some players to watch for St. Joe's. You see it right there. Nate Bailey, Taj Gray, KJ McLean, Kayshawn Bryant, Brady Shust, who, listen, one of the got to be top 3 tight ends or big men in the state catching the ball. They have to be explosive and match BC's physicality. And on the Bergen side, the Crusaders are loaded. Jordan Thomas, shout out to him. The All-American, Jackson Vaughn, Brian Porter, Jermaine Kinsler, Najee Calhoun, Austin Busso, who shout out to him. He was on the show not too long ago. They have elite talent at every level. And the question for St. Joe's is going to be, can they find a crack in that armor? And another question is, can St. Joe's protect their quarterback and establish a run game against this dominant BC defensive line? I think that's where the game will be won or lost. I'm going to go with Bergen in this one. It's not a knock against Joe's. It's just I think Bergen, after taking that loss to Don Bosco, has a little something, still brewing from that. And I honestly think they're going to be on a mission. And listen, Bosco is the number 1 team in the state. They took them out. I'm just saying we have not seen the last 2 of either one of those programs. And I fully expect a Bergen Bosco rematch at MetLife on Black Friday this year. All right, let's jump ahead to our public game of the week. You heard from Jack O'Callahan before, but here's another game of the week that has massive implications, and it's a battle of two 6-1 teams that are familiar foes. Number 11 Ramapo facing off against number 13 Northern Highlands. Forget the rankings. This is a huge rivalry. Franklin Lakes versus Allendale. These guys have been lining up against each other since Pop Warner Little League, whatever association is in right now. The winner of this game not only gets massive bragging rights, but huge boosts in the PowerPoints. And two great coaches that I've had the fortunate pleasure enough to get to know over the last couple of years. Coach Gattuso, Coach Guts. I always butcher his name. Sorry about that. And, Coach Dave Cord on the other side for Northern Highlands. Both these teams, I expect them to be disciplined and well prepared. So I think it'll be a clean but hard-hitting football game. Now, for Ramapo, the players to watch, without a doubt, Casey Grusser, shout out to him, the quarterback, was on our show to kick off the season. We also have Liam Hayward, Michael Balan, Joseph Yesis, and Jack Schneider and Cole Cipher, just to name a few. And then on the Highlands side, we talked to Jack O'Callahan. He's a stud, but also look for Chase Calarco, Tucker Canning, Drew Vandersnow, Dylan DeNoble, and Liam Soares. You can expect all of those guys to be flying to the ball. Now, the key question in this matchup, this game is a mirror image of these two 6-1 teams, two great coaches, two long list of players. I think the question will be which defense can force a crucial turnover in the second half, and who's going to make that big last play on offense, because this one always goes down to the wire. It's hard to pick. It's hard to pick a clear-cut favorite, but I am going to go with the Highlanders. They're at home, and similar to what I said about Bergen, I think the loss to Old Tapan is still eating at the Highlanders, so I'm going to go with them in this one, but I'm telling you, I guess I'll take 6 on the points. 6 on the point spread. I don't really see too many field goals, I think, coming down to high school football. Otherwise, that would be my pick. But we're not done. There's more great games slated for week 8. So let's take a look at the rest of our games of the week. 7-0 Butler at 7-0 Rutherford for the NJIC championship. We had two players that were playing in this game last year on the show. But to get into that, you couldn't write a better script. It's a battle of the Bulldogs, both undefeated, two 7-0 teams. This is the first time these two programs have ever met, and it's for a title. The stakes, this is bragging rights for the entire conference and a championship trophy. Who doesn't love that? Butler is the defending champions. They're a powerhouse that has won 24 of their last 26 games. Rutherford is gritty, battle-tested, and they just survived a 14-13 nail-biter to get here. Now, the question will be, can the Rutherford defense contain Butler's dual-threat quarterback, David Smith? Smith is an offensive machine who is responsible for 5 touchdowns in the semifinal. This game comes down to whether Rutherford can match Butler's explosive offense. I am going to give Butler the advantage here, seeing as they are the defending champs. I think they just have a little something extra. All right, moving along, a little Big Central Conference action. St. Thomas Aquinas and Sayreville. This one is a massive showdown. That could be a big test for the Bombers, who are looking to, really make waves in Group 5. As it relates to STA, they do have one loss on their record, and that was to an out-of-state team. So as it relates to New Jersey teams, they're undefeated. For Sayreville, it's a chance to prove, they had a tough loss against Montgomery last week, so is a proving point for them to see how they can bounce back. I think a key advantage in this one is that Sayreville has the home field advantage. St. Thomas Aquinas has big game experience, so this one will be, decided in the trenches. I am going to lean towards the Bombers in this one. But this one, again, will be a hard-fought contest. And, hard to count the Trojans out. They've been playing well, so shout out to both of them. Colonia 5-2 at Old Bridge 6-1. This is a revenge game, plain and simple. These two teams played an instant classic last year, with Old Bridge winning 36-29 in double overtime. You can be sure Colonia has had this one circled on the calendar all year long. This is a cutoff weekend game. Playoff seeding is directly on the line. Old Bridge is 6-1 and wants to lock up a high seed, while Colonia needs this signature win to improve its own standing. The key in this match will be Colonia's defense versus Old Bridge's dual threat quarterback, Brody Nugent. Nugent is a veteran leader who can beat you with his arm and legs. Colonia's entire defensive game plan has to be focused on how do you contain this guy. I think the Knights are rolling this year. I'm gonna take them. I'm gonna take them to win this one at home. Touching upon our conversation with Coach Russo, Paramus Catholic taking on Don Bosco. This is a huge, I guess you can call it a rivalry. Anytime these non-publics from the Super Football Conference get together, it feels like a rivalry, It's almost like a mini Super Bowl. But this is definitely one of the premier matchups in North Jersey, and there's going to be a lot of hard hitting. There's going to be emotions, and it's definitely going to be packed with some future college talent. I can bet you that. Listen, this is for I know PC doesn't have the most sexiest record, but this one is definitely for some bragging rights. Anytime you have a chance to take out the number one team in the state, your teams are always going to want to rise to the occasion. Whether or not they do against the talented Don Bosco team is another story. But the Paladins want to make a statement in this one, and Bosco does not want to get caught in a trap game. I think whoever wins this one is going to have massive momentum and proves that you can win a dogfight. This one's all about attitude, and it's PC's offensive line versus Bosco's defensive line. The team that controls the line of scrimmage will win this one. I know it's cliche to say, but I think this one's going to need all 48 minutes. I do expect the Ironmen to pull away late, but I would be very surprised if the Paladins PC just rolled over and didn't put up a fight here, because they ain't like that. All right. West Deptford at Overbrook. You have 6-2 Overbrook, who's on an absolute tear. They're scoring 48, 34, and 38 points in their recent wins. And they're playing with incredible confidence. On the other side, West Deptford, looking to get back to their glory days. And they want to prove that they're a true contender. They want to prove that they're a traditional power, they're disciplined, and they're a tough as nails programs, just like they've always been. I think the key in this matchup is going to be Overbrook's high-powered offense versus West Deptford's defense, and we want to see how disciplined the Eagles are. Can the high-flying Rams continue their scoring streak against a team that prides itself on shutting you down? Could be. I'm going to go Rams in this one. All right, Bridgewater Raritan at Phillipsburg. This is a real game at Phillipsburg. Two of the state's top, big school public programs colliding. The State Liners 6-1, coming off that tough loss to St. Joe's. They're hosting the 6-2 Panthers. They're gonna have, Duffy Field rocking. If you've never been there for a game, it is truly, truly spectacular. Band blaring. It's the only thing going on in town. And, if you love high school football, there's nowhere you'd rather be. But this is definitely a clash of two Group 5 public powers. The winner in this one will get a top seed in the playoffs. The loser might find themselves on the road in the first round. Now, the key in this matchup, once again, is going to be Bridgewater Raritan's offense versus a hard-hitting, tough, young Phillipsburg team, but also a program that has serious home field advantage. Maloney Stadium is a notorious difficult place to play. And like I said, the band is going to be blaring. We'll see. I'm sure Bridgewater's going to bring their band as well, who's, class act, top notch. If the Panthers can avoid some false starts, stay composed, I like their chances against, like I said, this underrated and I think hard-hitting Phillipsburg team in a hostile environment. But I'm still going to give it to Peterborough, like I said, because they're at home, and just having seen them versus Westfield earlier in the year, I just think hard to go against the State Liners. All right, Bridgeton at Cherry Hill East. This is an ultimate trap game. Cherry Hill East doing well this season. They aren't just undefeated, they're dominating. I mean, 42-0 and 50-0 some of their scores. And their only close game was in week 1. For this one, for Cherry Hill East, it's about staying perfect and not looking ahead. For 3-2 Bridgeton, it's their Super Bowl. It's their chance to knock off one of the powers in their region. So they're a clear underdog. And Cherry Hill East focus, can they treat this 3-2 team with the same intensity that they've had for their other opponents? Bridgeton has the chance to make this a game, but I'm still going to roll with East in this one. As we were talking about with our boy Tommy Boura, Mount Olive at West Morris, 2 undefeated teams. This is all about bragging rights, close proximity. And look, this one's about pure pride. These games are always low scoring. They're defensive slugfest, and it comes down to who can make that big play in the fourth quarter. For both teams, it's about who can be more physical and who blinks first. Mount Olive's run game versus West Morris front 7 is going to be a sight to see. As you heard from our guy Tommy, just Mount Olive has some guys lined up at defensive tackle. They also have one of the best running backs in the state. I think the key in this one will be the team that establishes the clock and controls the clock will be the one that comes out on top. And I like West Morris to win this one. They're at home. It's senior night, and I think the Wolfpack are really looking to end the regular season with a bang. And what other way to do it against your rival for the division? All right, Montgomery 6-2 at Rawley, who is currently 5-3. This could be the most entertaining game of the week. It's a revenge game. Rawley beat Montgomery 28-3 last year. Now the 6-2 Cougars, coming off a 43 offensive explosion against Sayreville, travel to Rawley to face a 5-3 team that's on fire. This one has 2 high-powered offenses involved. Montgomery wants to prove it can hang with one of the most physical teams in the conference, and Rawley, they want to prove last year wasn't a fluke. So I think one of the keys in this will be Montgomery's run defense versus Rawley's star running back, Andrew Avent. Avent is a monster coming off a game where he ran 240 yards and 4 TDs on only 9 carries. Rawley has rushed for over 300 yards in 4 straight games. If Montgomery can stop the run, it's going to be a long night for him. But seeing as the Cougars were road warriors last week, I'm going to take them to win this one on the road this time around. And let's wrap it up with Woodbridge, who is 7-1, taking on St. Joseph Metuchen, who is 7-0. I was at this game last year. And, for Joe's, it's a chance to stay perfect. And for Woodbridge, it's the chance to also, kind of similar to that last game. The matchup last year came down to the final play. Final drive, and it ended in a defensive stand, but the final 2 minutes were wild. So I think the Barons want to prove that the same thing last year wasn't just kind of lucky for them. I know Joe's dropped a couple games there at the end, and I think a win for either one of these teams will solidify who was the undisputed king of. I won't say the GMC, but the Big Central Conference. And the key in this matchup is going to be Woodbridge's balanced offense versus St. Joe's defense. St. Joe's has a great quarterback. They're 7-0 for a reason. They're disciplined. They're fast. Woodbridge needs to be creative and find a way to get their playmakers in space if they want to pull off the upset. I do like Coach Joe George coming out with the win in this one, but just seeing the way Joe's has played this year, they definitely, Coach Tracy has these guys playing at a high level, and I'm going to pick the Falcons in this one. And that is going to do it for our NJ Athletics, NJ Gridiron Games of the Week. Well, that's going to do it for the Garden Statement Week 8 kickoff. Like I said, I really can't believe that the high school football season here in New Jersey is slowly coming to an end. Don't worry. I'll try to keep my emotions in check, but it's going to be really hard. Let us know below how we did. Let us know where you're heading this week. Let us know what we can improve on. Who do we need to have on this show? Like I said, we only have so many weeks left, and we do want to promote not only the top talent in the state, but we want to see our diamonds in the rough. So if you think you or you know somebody who should be on the show, please feel free to reach out to us on any of our platforms. Like and subscribe, share this, get the word out. We are the fastest growing high school football show and outlet in the state. But don't take my word for it. The numbers speak for themselves. Numbers don't lie. People lie about numbers. So I'll just leave you with that. As always, I'm going to give you my spiel. Have fun this weekend. Be safe. Represent your community, your team, and your family well. Like I said, let us know where you're going. All right. For the Garden Statement, I'm Neri Rodriguez, and you know it's fresh cookies. I'll see you guys next week.